So there's something that's super wild about starting over, especially as an adult. Most people stop trying things by the time they're 30. It's scary and it's what they call vulnerable. But honestly, I think that it's kind of addicting. For me, that new thing was a gravel bike, but really it wasn't about just a bike. It was about rediscovering a part of myself that I hadn't seen in several years. So today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind a good bit and something that I've been discussing with friends and even with my mom recently. And that is what it means to be new at something again and why it might just be the best decision that you can ever make. So let's dive in. A few years ago, I moved to Nashville from Colorado. A new place, new energy, and I was ready for the change, but slowly I started feeling off. Back home, activities like bikes and boards were everything to me. I rode several times a week, BMX at the skate park, trails on the MTB, or snowboards in the mountains depending on the time of year. But here I fell out of the rhythm. I still hit the mountain bike trails now and then, but it didn't really feel the same. I felt disconnected. And that's when the idea hit me that maybe the answer isn't the terrain, maybe it's the access. I thought, what if I could ride my bike straight from my front door again? No packing, no cars, no hassle, just ride. So being me, I did the thing that I always do. I spiraled into research, geometry, specs, tire sizes, all that stuff. So after weeks of nerding out, I finally pulled the trigger on my first gravel bike. New bike day, from that first ride, that spark came back. And I hadn't felt that feeling in a lot of years, and I knew I was onto something. I'll be completely real. Diving into this genre of riding was a huge shift. I've ridden bikes my whole life, but this was completely different. I didn't understand half the components. I was even nervous, building it up and asking friends a million questions. On a BMX bike, it's really simple. There's not very many bolts and I was brakeless, so it was even quicker. And suddenly I was learning about carbon fiber, about bike computers, about gear ratios again, power meters, and don't even get me started on the science behind fueling to ride. But weirdly enough, I completely fell in love with it. It reminded me of my younger years on my BMX, Googling tricks on what I should learn or how to build up my bike. That feeling of just being completely brand new at something. The curiosity, the humility that you have to have, and just the fire to learn. It's super rare as you get older. It reminded me that it's completely okay to not be great at something. It's okay to mess up, We're all growing and this is all of our first time living. I touched on this similar point in a previous video, but what I didn't expect was how much riding again would affect and impact my mental health. Some days I was feeling super sluggish, foggy, or overwhelmed, but when I clip in and just start pedaling, it's like my mind gets completely quiet, even on the hard days. It helps the most probably those days. Again, it was that first ride in Colorado that really ran and hit deep. The views, the conversation, the silence, it reminded me what I love about bikes and all that stuff in the first place. Not just the sport, but the freedom, the headspace. And then with all of that, challenging myself to training for my first race, I realized that this is my thing again. It's not about being the fastest or the strongest, but about the reset, the clarity and the earned dopamine. And of course, the weird obsessive joy you get when you see yourself getting better and better at something every single week. This journey hasn't been perfect. I recently cracked my frame and that was a very expensive mistake and yeah, carbon fiber. But of course, it's all just part of the ride. So from fueling better to planning better routes to fixing things mid-ride, it's been a constant process of just learning. And I've built out, a weekly training program, figured out what snacks actually work and what I like, and started pushing myself in ways that I didn't even know that I cared about anymore. But it's not just about fitness or stats, it's about showing up for yourself, even on the days that you don't want to, especially on those days. And I think as we all get older, it gets harder and harder to try something new. Life gets busy. We get set in our routines and in our lifestyle, and we become scared of what people might think. We tell ourselves we don't have time, or maybe worse, we quietly believe that it's too late to start something from scratch again. But I don't really buy that anymore. And I've realized that there's something completely magical about starting something new and being new at something again, especially as an adult. You know, that fresh energy, the awkwardness, that wild mix of being excited and kind of terrible at it all at once. And for me, the most important piece of all of it is the liberation, or the liberating feeling of realizing that not a single damn opinion on what you want to do actually matters. And I don't just mean cycling. You know, over the last year and a half, I've completely fallen in love with paddle or padel, depending on where you are. A sport that I never expected to click the way it has. It's competitive, it's fun, it's humbling, and I find myself wanting to get better and better every single time that I play. The point is, there's something beautiful about being the beginner again, about being the rookie. It opens up a part of you that maybe got a little quiet over the years. So maybe this video is less about bikes and more about whatever's been quietly calling to you to try out or to dive into. The one thing that you've been thinking about but haven't started yet. Maybe it's a new sport, a creative outlet, or a community that you've been curious about joining. But whatever it is, this is your permission slip. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to take the first step. So I'd love to hear what that is. Drop it down below in the comments, DM me. I'd love to hear it, you know, and if you're on your journey in cycling or otherwise, you're not alone. So let's just keep showing up for ourselves, and yeah, that's all. I just wanted to chat about that today. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it was more kind of talking head, just me blabbering on kind of style, but yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking a lot about and kind of plays into this whole YouTube journey for me as well. So if you liked it, drop a like, hit subscribe, leave a comment with, you know, what you might be diving into, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.